Welcome to The Pit Check, your breaking news and album reviews for the best new metal and hardcore music each and every week. Okay, so if you've been to this channel before, you know the way we do it here. We try to have the most variety as possible in terms of like all the different genres. Everything from punk rock to grindcore. If it's got a mosh pit, we're there. But it seems like this week, instead, we got a death metal takeover. It's like the death metal UN got together and they were like, this week, we gotta release it now. So if there's just like a little bit more death metal than usual, I apologize. But also, I don't, because it rips. So without too much yapping from me up top, let's get into my recommendations for this week's craziest new albums. I mean, I've heard of speed metal, but Jesus Christ. The ungodly technical death metal band Archspire has released their latest album, Too Fast to Die. Sonic the Hedgehog be like... So yeah, this is the final boss of technical death metal. Every single member in this band is an Elden Ring deity on their instrument, including the vocalist. So yeah, obviously that's the one thing that's drawn a ton of attention here, is this non-stop vocal barrage. Bro sounding like a death metal Donnie from the Wild Thornberries. But what makes this so fascinating is that this isn't just some audio trick where they like speed up the recording or like something they can't perform live. He actually uses this cyclical breathing technique where the vocalist bounces back and forth from exhale to inhale screams. So every time he's breathing, he's also screaming, creating this like Mobius strip of a vocal assault. And let's not let the admittedly incredible vocals take away from the absurd talent of all of these instrumentalists. The guitarists are shredding and soloing non-stop, whether it's sweeping and melodic or just relentlessly brutal. They clearly are the masters of fingering. Wait, and you could say the same thing for this drummer, who seems to be a Terminator sent back from the future to make every other drummer feel bad about themselves. If you've ever been a fan of their sound, this is everything you could possibly want from this band, and more. Alright, like I said earlier, this episode is going to be heavy as shit for the next like 20 minutes straight. So you know what? Let's actually just cover this band real quick before we go permanently destroying our eardrums. Hog Crankers Unite! I saw you would learn by now. See through all the shit you saw me. The post-hardcore, funky, groovy, country-infused rock and roll band Bilmuri has released their latest album, Kinda Hard. I think this is where that Nashville inspiration has finally hit full force. Both the instrumentals and the lyrical content have this overwhelming vibe of the like bunch of good old boys drinking and having a good time, but kind of getting up in your feels towards the end of the night, getting all reflective and like, I just miss her, man. Even though she screwed up my life and took my dog, I just still miss her, man. Also, come on. It takes a true man to make a Taylor Swift reference. This album is non-stop, wall-to-wall crowd pleasers. And of course, I mean that as a compliment. There were a ton of singles, too many in my opinion, but even the non-singles are total earworms and don't feel like B-sides or leftovers, but instead songs that could easily have been singles themselves. And of course, this way too relatable and heartbreaking closer of a song, Waves. I know not everyone has been stoked on the more overt country influence, and some are for sure missing their earlier, more experimental and off-the-wall genre blending vibes. This is definitely more traditional when it comes to the choruses and the song structures. But to be completely honest, I think stripping it back like this works entirely in its favor for a more somber yet catchy concept album like this. I think the country elements would have felt way too out of place or forced or felt like a gimmick if they were more off the wall on this album, instead of what we got, which is this like bittersweet, reflective ranch. Y'all want to see a dead body? The Florida beatdown hardcore and deathcore crossover band Bodysnatcher is back with their latest album, Hell Is Here, Hell Is Home. This thing is tough as nails and filthy as shit, like fucking Pigpen on steroids. Pointing out how disgustingly heavy this band is feels, well, obvious. I mean, come on, you've heard the clips. But one thing I always really liked about this band, and whether it's intentional or not, but it's like the bits of groove metal influence that seems to peek into the breakdowns, like where they're locked in on these super bouncy riffs and patterns and rhythms that are designed to like break your neck from headbanging, but without ever overstaying their welcome or without getting reused, always finding new ways to give each song its own personality and sound and bounce, which is not super common for bands this heavy. And it's not just the riffs that have a lot of versatility. The songs in general have a lot more influence from some more like brutal death metal and even like tiny bits of thrash elements, and an overall violently menacing atmosphere, which helps build in a lot of like variation while still being a relentless assault on your senses. There could not be a better album to put on at the gym if you want to bench press a Balrog. New York death metal is goated. The legendary death metal band Immolation is back with their 12th studio album, Descent. It is crazy to me that a band can consistently put out music for 40 years and never get stale or stagnant. Plus, they're making death metal, which, you know, doesn't get any easier to play as you age. And yet they've still managed to never put out a bad album. And of course, this one is no different. I wouldn't be talking about it otherwise. Okay, I'm gonna bitch for a second, but I do want to be clear up top. I don't think this is the fault of the band itself. But this trend of lazily filming a band in a room and just cutting to random AI shots is cheap and lazy as hell and needs to stop. This is so low effort and so disappointing to see from an artist. Again, I don't know who to blame, but they clearly just put the band in a black room and had them play like 3 songs back to back and were like, okay, done. We'll put some AI bullshit in post.
3 hours later.
This is actually unacceptable and puts a really bad taste in your mouth when it comes to the band and music itself. I genuinely almost didn't even cover this because, like, how do you reward this kind of behavior? But the music itself is actually fucking sick. And again, I doubt the band is sitting there just like generating videos on Kling or whatever. And I know I'm biased because my background is in film and television production, but there is no way I'm alone in saying I would rather have no music video than this shit. Sorry for the tangent. All right, But a band this legendary and an album this good should not be held back by stupid shit like that. Especially when this album is more of exactly what you'd want from Immolation. You've got these amazing, sharp, and precise riffs with plenty of brutality and tons of creativity, especially in the song structures, and the constant unending showcase of skill and versatility. This is a fantastic, classic death metal album, and please don't let my hyperfixation on something that was presumably out of the band's hands ruin your enjoyment for what the band did create. A fucking sick album. All right, I know things got heated there for a second, but we're all good. I'm chill now, we're good. And while we're here, maybe subscribe to the show, maybe send it to a friend. I don't know, man, I know this shit is like super cringe, but my wedding is in 2 weeks, and wouldn't that make a great present to us, like helping get this show a wider audience? That's so kind of you. What a great suggestion. You didn't have to do that, but you do. You do have to. Please subscribe. I want to quit my day job. Also, I think it could be fun to collab with some other content creators. Like if you know anyone in the New York City or just general Northeast US area that you think would be fun for me to do something with. Maybe they do metal content or play Magic the Gathering. I am a huge Magic nerd, so hey, you never know. I don't know. I think it'd be fun to pop around a little bit and meet some of my other fellow weirdos on the internet. Anyway, back to the show. North Carolina straight edge hardcore. The wildly underrated metallic hardcore band A Knife in the Dark has finally released their debut album, Songs Without Witness. This is a beefy as hell album. Every song is straight, unhinged physical violence. No breaking edge, only breaking faces. I actually really love how much of that early 2000s metallic hardcore and metalcore crossover inspiration that they mix into their more modern down-tempo sound. Sort of like if Converge had started dabbling in beatdown hardcore. These guys are also currently finishing up a tour with my boys in the band Excide, so I'll have to ask if they're as menacing live as this record is. Some of these riffs, I swear to God, make you want to just punch the sun. And the winner of Band Name of the Year goes to... The grindcore and brutal death metal band Bottom Surgery has released their latest EP, To Tell the Truth. So the last time I covered this band, they were a little bit more of like a cyber grind project, but now they've Code Lyoko'd their sound out of the digital realm and into the more tangible side of things, with this mature and incredibly well-written grindcore crossover release. This is actually giving me vibes of that like early to mid 2000s grindcore, like a See You Next Tuesday, which is one of my all-time favorites, or Arsonists Get All the Girls, but with Bottom Surgery's now well-established pattern of this expert level production and songwriting, and a discordant, eerie atmosphere with, of course, ear-destroying screams and masterful yet psychotic riffing. This is a spectacular new release, and I'm obsessed with this new direction. 10 out of 10, no notes. Nashville technical death metal. The technical death metal band Inferi have released their latest album, Heaven Wept. All right, no bullshit. This might be their best album yet, or at least my favorite. I could easily be biased because here they've clearly just like leaned into their heaviest and nastiest impulses, and that's right up my alley. This album is obviously chock full of exactly what you'd expect. Ungodly precise and polished riffing with plenty of solos and gorgeous yet haunting melodies, a drummer who manages to be non-stop all the time, but always shifting things up and being extremely creative, a vocalist with a fantastic range and channeling some Black Dahlia meets Shadow of Intent vibes, and overall this time just leaning heavily into the more brutal death metal and just general disgustingly heavy elements, while also doubling down on the evil and ominous atmosphere. And like I said with the Shadow of Intent and Black Dahlia reference, I actually think this band has quite a large reach in terms of people who would enjoy this album. Not because it's accessible or generic or anything, but instead because they pull so much from the best of so many genres, it's hard not to respect what they're doing here. I think people who enjoy anything from symphonic deathcore to tech death to even some slam lovers will find a lot to love here. We still have a lot of hardcore stuff we need to get to still. All right, new segment. Let's call it like Hard Corner. Hey guys, welcome to the Hard Corner. Here's 3 new hardcore demos you cannot sleep on. The Nashville hardcore punk band Time Bomb has just put out their debut release, Demo 26. I actually really like how this band seems to blend like 3 decades of hardcore into one sound, and I like the bouncing back and forth between the vocalist and these monster bass lines. This band seems to have come out of nowhere, but they kick a ton of ass. The German melodic hardcore band Speak Ill has released their EP, Kenopsia. This thing is a down-tempo, emotional assault. I was blown away by how brutal this EP is. It kind of reminds me of Counterparts in some ways, mainly just like how they're able to write such devastating songs that can be both melodic and deadly. And finally, the chaotic hardcore band Retina has put out their debut EP, Contraband. This EP is pure 2000s riffy, chaotic madness. Unhinged energy, panic chords, breakdowns, both mental and physical, and just pure violence. What's not to love? And quick shoutouts to Nukem, not of the Duke variety. This is a super sick old school thrash metal band. Maybe it's because I'm old, but I really dig their sound. Obey the Kraken. This is some awesome Lovecraftian death metal. We've covered them on the show before, but this is a sick new EP. And finally, Love Rarely. This This is some awesome math rock, swancore, post-hardcore vibes. Really dug this one as well. A lot of talent in this band. And here is the entire list of all of the albums that came out this week. Let me know if there's anything I missed, or if there's anything I should cover next week, or if you have a band that has something coming out soon, please let me know as soon as you can. Send me that album beforehand so I can try and get it out around the same time it releases, etc., etc. Actually, I might not even have an episode next week. Again, my wedding is coming up, so I might need some extra time. We'll see. I might need some extra time to myself. And don't forget to subscribe if you like the episode and you want some more album recommendations each and every week. You know the drill. Hit me up, whatever platform. I will try to respond, and I'll try to check out every album that you guys send me. So that's it. Wish me luck on everything coming up. It's going to be a stressful next couple of weeks. Love you guys. Catch you in a couple weeks or next week. Who knows?